This is the story of why I got sober. Just like a lot of heavy drinkers, I considered moderating for a very long time, and I tried to moderate. I tried only drinking on the weekends. I tried only drinking past 5 p.m. Heck, I even tried only drinking hard alcohol because my preferred drink of choice was beer, wine, and seltzers. And so I thought that limiting myself to just hard alcohol would make me not want to drink as much. Crazy thought there, but I tried literally everything before quitting 100%. And so I knew that I was dealing with an alcohol problem. I had known that for probably a year and a half before I got sober. And one January, it was January 2024, I decided to do a dry January and test myself essentially to see if I could survive 30 days without alcohol, see what my life would look like, just test that out, prove to myself that I could do it. There were all sorts of weird mental games I was playing with myself with this dry January, but alas, I did it, and I made it through 30 days, and I could not believe it. I literally couldn't believe it. That is the longest I had gone without drinking in a very, very long time. And a lot of good happened. I noticed some reduction in my puffiness, in my face, in my stomach. I noticed that I woke up with more energy. I didn't need coffee. I spent my evenings being so productive and going on walks or doing an art project. I was bored, but almost in the best way possible, where just for 30 or 31 days of January, I was doing everything that I had been wanting to do. It was amazing. I was exercising. I started jogging a little bit. So many good things happened. But of course, February rolled around and I started drinking again, probably more intensely than I ever had in my life. And my drinking problem developed originally when I was dating this really awful guy who I now know has narcissistic personality disorder. And I would just like to, side note, say that I am so sorry if you have ever had to deal with a narcissist, parent, friend, sibling, or significant other. It is really hard, really complex, really hard to explain, really hard to escape. It is without a doubt the hardest thing I have ever gone through was that relationship, and even more so the aftermath of that relationship. I was stalked, harassed. I had to move apartments. I had to change my phone number. It was really, really awful. I lived in fear every single day, and it was a horrible time in my life. And that guy taught me about morning drinking because we dated during COVID, and it's heck, we're not working, why not? And he taught me that morning drinking, hair of the dog, cures a hangover the next day. He kind of introduced me to these unhealthy drinking habits, but it was fun, and it was early in our relationship, and it was great. But then as our relationship got worse, I kind of started using alcohol to cope with that relationship, and I think that's when things really started to go downhill. When I connected bad things happening in life, sadness, fear, frustration, with drinking. It was drinking could cure any of that stuff. And that's when things went really downhill, because then anything sad that happened in my life, I would drink to get through it. And then it turned into any minor inconvenience, any nerves that I felt. I just learned that alcohol could medicate so many different things. I learned that it could kind of medicate my ADHD or OCD symptoms. So I would self-medicate with alcohol. I learned that it could medicate to get through sadness. I learned that it could medicate to get through nerves. So when I had a work meeting or a presentation that I was nervous for, I would drink to get through that. I started using alcohol as my coping mechanism for life. And then when I managed to leave him after the 7th try and the stalking and harassment started, that is when the drinking got to a whole different level, because every morning I would wake up and I would have 80 phone calls from this guy, either from my front door call box or just on my phone, and they're all from different numbers. Everyone I blocked, he would create a new one. I don't even know how he did that. It was so crazy. Even when I changed my phone number, he found a way to get in contact with me. So here's your sign, change your Apple ID. if you're also changing your phone number to keep people away. Learn that the hard way. But anyway, imagine waking up every single morning and instantly just seeing what's happened. Seeing if he's left something for you at your doorstep or on your car. Seeing that he's called your manager at your apartment complex and like left a package with him. Seeing that he's called you literally 80 times. That he's created all these different phone numbers. That he's emailed you 17 times. That was instant when I woke up. It was just like, whoa. Life just hit me like a freaking semi-truck. And so there was a point in my life where I didn't know how I was going to get through the day without alcohol. I needed alcohol to exist, and it worked. The sad part is it worked. I would start my day with either like a shot of hard alcohol, or I would down like 3 Coors Lights, and that would make it just so I could freaking get out of bed, literally. That's how like heavy and intense it was. So that's when my drinking problem was really bad. And then time passed. I got a restraining order, which worked successfully. He stayed away. He stopped contacting me. I got into a new relationship with this wonderful guy. I talk about him all the time. This guy was great. He was fantastic. But it was so recent after that relationship. I had not healed. I wasn't ready to be in a relationship. And honestly, I shouldn't have been in a relationship, but I met this great guy and I was like, you can't choose when amazing people come into your life. So I get into this relationship and I'm still drinking a lot, but like I'm active, we're going out and doing fun things. And, it was like all good. I was just like a heavy drinker partier type, but I don't even know if there was a particular event that, I remember. How could I forget? I was like, what was the thing that made me get even worse with my drinking? I almost forgot. It was my injury. So I'm dating this new guy and it's great. I still drink a lot, but it's not like problematic. I'm not drinking a 12-pack by myself at home. And then I tore my ACL playing volleyball. And if you've ever gone through that injury or know somebody who's gone through that injury, it is really mentally like the worst injury to go through. Physically, obviously, it's awful, and getting back on your feet literally is such a journey. I'm still doing physical therapy when I go to the gym like multiple years later. But anyway, mentally, it's awful because here's how it goes. You tear your ACL, hurts like a mother fricker. It made me feel a lot better when I see like NFL players lying on the ground screaming when they tear their ACLs, because I was like, yeah, that was me. Like I was in so much pain. So there's that. And you can't walk for a while, but then you go to the doctor and they're like, oh yeah, like start putting weight on it again as soon as you can. In fact, start like rehabbing your knee, start doing these exercises with bands, start cycling, start walking, even you can start jogging if you're comfortable, you can start lifting weights. I was like, this is so weird. Like I basically got back to health. I got back to a good place where I was like able to function again. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm feeling pretty good. And then they're like, okay, great. Now that you are strong enough, we're going to put you into surgery. And they basically set you back to square one. So in my case, I spent a couple of months, how many months? It was like 2 full months of rehabbing my knee and getting back to health. And then they're like, you're going into surgery. And it was starting from square one all over again, but worse, because you're also dealing with the pain of the surgery. I had my quad and my IT band, part of those taken to build a new ACL. So now you're dealing with damage to the quad muscle. My quad, I have videos of it. It was insane. It was like you squeeze it and there's just no muscle. Like it completely atrophied. It was just like goo on one side. And then my right side was still like muscular. It was so weird. So you start from square one again. And I was just depressed. Like having to do that essentially all over again, but even worse this time. It was awful. And you have to wear this giant brace to go do everything. I modeled as my career for a long time. So like obviously that was not possible. I felt like anything I wanted to do, I couldn't. I just sat at home a lot and drank alcohol. And that right there is what got my drinking to the worst it had ever been. That's when it got really, really bad. And then I did that dry January and then came back even stronger in February. Essentially, I would say went off the deep end. And then in June of that year, June 2024, I started having some pain in my upper right abdomen. I thought it was pain from like sit-ups, like an abdominal workout or something. But I laid in bed and I would mimic that sit-up motion. And I was like, oh, that's like not a muscle thing. This is something really weird up there. And if you look that up online, pain in your upper right abdomen, it's basically nothing good. And it's all alcohol related. I think what I was experiencing was fatty liver, because your liver doesn't have any pain receptors, but your liver can get inflamed and push up against other things, which causes that dull pain in the upper right abdomen, which is exactly what I was experiencing. And that freaked me out because I went down the rabbit hole of what is fatty liver, what's liver disease, what's cirrhosis. I learned how you can die at 32 years old from cirrhosis of the liver from heavy alcohol use. I learned about the cancers that can come from alcohol use, and it freaked me out. And I would say it scared me straight. And within a couple weeks, I quit drinking. I don't know what came over me, but my sober start date is June 20th, 2024. And I just remember I didn't plan to get sober on June 20th. That date has no significance to me. I think it was like a Thursday. It was just random. I woke up and I said to myself, I just feel it. Like, I'm done. Today's the day that I quit drinking alcohol. And I wasn't ready to promise anybody that I was going to be sober forever. I wasn't ready to commit to a life of sobriety. I just needed to do this for myself and to see what life could look like. I was at a really low place, from the injury, from putting on a lot of weight due to the drinking and the injury, and not being able to exercise and not eating right and just hating myself and getting McDonald's all the time. I put on a lot of weight. So I hated how I looked. No chance I was going to be modeling with the state I was in. Not only was I overweight, but I was like squishy, cellulite-y, a really odd color, like this yellowish greenish color. It was I was not looking good, okay? I was very bloated in the face. I was red. I looked like an alcoholic, to be honest. Like looking at myself in the mirror and just not even recognizing the person I had become. That was a big push for me to get sober. In fact, I took a video one day when I felt like I was at my lowest, and on my Instagram at India Gants, I post my before and after a lot on there because I took that video when I was at my lowest. So seeing myself like that was really hard. And then the kind of liver pain, the pain in my upper right abdomen mixed with that, I was like, I got to stop. I didn't know when I was going to stop. I didn't know how I was going to stop. I actually remember I tried weaning myself off because I had heard that stopping cold turkey can be very dangerous and like people can die from that. And so I was freaked out by that. I think it actually stopped me from getting sober for a while because I was so scared of that. And so I tried reducing the amount of alcohol that I was drinking every day. So I'd be like, okay, today I can have 10 beers. Tomorrow I can have 9 beers. Tomorrow or the next day I can have 8 beers, then 7. And I was hoping that I would dwindle myself down to where I'm not drinking at all. But when you have the type of mind that I did, I just know that I'm a person that I'm like 100% on or 100% off. So it worked for a while. I did reduce how much I was drinking, and I remember I was crying once while drinking a beer. It was actually like a really low moment for me because I told myself, this is my medication. Like I have to drink this beer to not risk death and like sickness or whatever might come from the withdrawals. I said, just get this down. Like you have to drink this beer. I know you want sobriety for yourself, but you have to drink this to stay alive. I don't know. It was just such a weird game that I was playing with myself, and I felt really icky and just really low in that moment. So, of course, one thing led to another, and I started a full-on drinking again. The dwindling down my drinks didn't work for me. I tried, and if you can do that, cool. I don't know if that's a good way to quit drinking, but I attempted that and it was a fail. So anyway, I wake up on June 20th, this random Thursday, and I'm just like feeling it in my soul that today's the day. And I just did it. And I signed up for the I Am Sober app, which I still use as my day counter today. I put in my reasons for why I was quitting, which those are crazy to look back at now. And yeah, it still tracks my days to this point, which is awesome to have. There's also a community tab on there where you can connect with other people who have been sober as long as you have. It's very, very cool. So highly recommend the I Am Sober app. But anyway, I remember that morning I was like, what should I put as my start date? Like, should it be 7 a.m. when I woke up? Should it be 8 a.m. when I decided I was getting sober? Should it be 11 p.m. when I had my last drink? Should it be once alcohol is out of my system, maybe around noon? Like, I just didn't know what to put as my start date, and I was obsessing over the hours, which is so funny because now I'm over 600 days sober. And so what does a few hours matter now? But back then it was so important to me to get the time right. I ended up going with 7 a.m. I remember it because I said, may as well do it the moment I open my eyes, because that's like when I was sober. That's my first day sober, right? And I liked that it was in the morning, because then it's like each day that I'm sober isn't like I make it through the night and it's another day sober. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. And yeah, I experienced what's called the pink cloud. Not right away, but after a few days, I started experiencing the pink cloud, which is this feeling of like ultra elation and happiness, like almost to a manic point where you're like so happy. It feels crazy. And I was experiencing it so strongly that I looked it up, like feeling super, super happy after quitting drinking, feeling manic, feeling elated. I looked that up, and it's common. There is a word for it. It's called the pink cloud. And I think that the pink cloud is actually what got me through early sobriety and like made me able to stay sober, because I was just so stoked on life. I remember I went to bed just so excited to wake up the next morning and make my coffee and just take a walk and like see the sunshine and just live another day. I was just like so happy. So if you get to experience the pink cloud, it's pretty cool, but not everybody will, okay? And I wouldn't go into sobriety like hoping that you experience the pink cloud. You might not, but you'll still make it through, of course, and you'll still stay sober regardless. But it was a cool thing to experience, I guess. But of course, the pink cloud wears off, and then reality kind of hits, and that's when sobriety gets really hard. Definitely listen to my episode called Days 30 to 90 Are the Hardest, because I talk about that period where, yeah, it got real during that time. But I made it through, and now I'm 615 days sober or something. I got sober on June 20th, 2024. So, do the math. But I started this podcast 8 months into my sobriety, and it's called The Sober Scoop. I have had it on all the other podcast platforms for a really long time, but I just decided to start posting the video versions on YouTube. So if you want more content, they're available everywhere at The Sober Scoop. But creating this community has been everything I needed and more. I did not do AA. I did not do rehab. I've never gone to a meeting in person, but this Sober Scoop community, or the Scoop Troop as we call it, has been my rock. We have our Facebook group that's called the Scoop Troop, which is our Facebook support group for sober people and sober curious people. And connecting with those individuals, seeing all the posts that are going on in there, meeting you guys in person when I randomly run into you, reading all the comments, the DMs, all of that means the world to me. And it kind of feels like me getting sober and making that choice for myself was my destiny, because now I'm able to use my voice to help so many other people achieve the same things and get to meet their best self in sobriety. It truly is amazing, and I'm so blessed, and I'm so grateful, and I'm so happy that we have this community. It's all I could have ever asked for, and talking about sobriety and my experience and my random tips that I've learned along the way is my pride and joy. It's my passion, and it's kind of like my therapy, to be honest. I feel like this is my AA when I sit down and talk to the camera and divulge all of these crazy things about my life. So anyway, that's the story with me. My name is India Gants, by the way. The platform is called The Sober Scoop, and I post videos every Tuesday and Thursday. So thank you for being a part of our community. If you choose to subscribe, we would love to have you as part of the Scoop Troop. And I'm just so grateful you're here. Best of luck on your sober journey, wherever you are in that process. Sending love. Bye.